My name is Lauren Wilmore, and I'm a dance costume designer and creator. Today, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about custom designs and what that means and why that might be a great option for you and what your experience might be like when you get a custom design made for yourself. Custom designs, what are they? For dancers, this usually brings to mind something that's custom made, but I think we can make this description even more specific. Usually, what happens in my case with custom designs is that the design is both made specifically for the dancer and the costume is also tailor-made for the dancer. So, what does that mean? It means that when we first start communicating, a dancer will communicate certain things, such as the song they're dancing to, or what sort of competition it is they'll be competing in, their goals. For instance, maybe they want to show elegant and elongated lines for their arms, or maybe they want a costume that's going to help to accentuate their super fast spins or their very sensual hip actions. Or maybe they really have a preference not to show their midriff, or maybe they have a preference to show as much midriff as possible. So clients help get the process started by giving some of this information and possibly by sharing inspiration. Inspiration can come in the form of couture or designer world. You can show some dresses that you really like or other outfits that you really like. It can be a mood, it can be a color. Inspiration comes in many different forms, but it's part of what we use in order to get the custom design process started. So, for instance, if you were to share with me a couple of specific costumes that you really loved, I would ask you more questions to understand what it is that you love about those costumes. And that combined with the information about what you're using it for, as I mentioned before, for instance, is it a solo showcase or is it competition? Or is it going to be a show on stage? Or is it going to be in a nightclub? Or maybe it's going to serve multiple uses. These are all things that we have to keep in mind when creating the custom design. So once we understand your inspiration and why it's inspirational to you, why it's specifically inspirational in the case of what we're creating now, we take all of that information and I create customized sketches to present to you to see if I've visually understood your vision and to create a shared vision of what we need to create together. That process can take some time because for in my case, I like to be quite thoughtful in what I'm making and what I'm drawing. I like to be thoughtful in the sense of making sure that it meets as many of your wish list parameters as possible. I like to be thoughtful in terms of making sure it is unique and original. Um, and I like to be thoughtful in terms of making sure it's something we can achieve in whatever timeline has been established. So the sketching process can take some time. And after that, we talk about it. The sketches are ideas. They're a starting point. Sometimes with clients, they see those sketches and they fall immediately in love and they're perfect for them. They're exactly what they had in mind, or they're not exactly what they had in mind, but they're better. Sometimes the client doesn't completely connect with what's presented in the sketches, and that's okay as well, because those sketches are a starting point. And from there, I can ask more questions to better understand what it is that you might like about what the sketches present and what it is that might need to be improved to better suit your preferences. So that is a quick overview of how we create a custom design. So what the custom design means is that we're taking a person, a situation, an inspiration, and we use those things to craft a unique visual idea. So we take it from our minds and we get it onto paper, and that is where we finalize the custom design. The second half of that is where we actually custom make a garment. So what does that mean? There are many levels of customization when it comes to creating garments. It can be the least customized, which is one size fits all hat that you buy. A little bit more customized could be the trousers that you buy that are in a fairly specific size. More customized can be something that's made to order, where you might provide your measurements and the size of the garment is selected and maybe ever so slightly altered based on your measurements, but it's not made specifically to and for your measurements, all the way up to what I do, which is that you provide your measurements, and from those measurements, I create a custom pattern in order to create your costume and future garments as well. This is very beneficial because from the beginning of the process, this is made with you in mind and for you. So it naturally follows that the pattern making process would be the same. And of course, it's never perfect going from measurements on paper to creating something that's three-dimensional and fits on your body. And that's why we have fittings. So even with a very precise pattern making, we have to use fittings in order to further customize the make of the costume. One thing that frequently happens in the process of creating a custom costume is that people underestimate the amount of time it takes for fittings. Many people think somehow that the fittings will take 10 minutes or 5 minutes. I always like to suggest that you leave 1 or even 2 hours for a fitting. Why is that? You have to imagine that we're trying to fit not only the actual fabric, but sometimes also other embellishments and design elements that need to accentuate your body and show your body in the most beautiful possible way. And that simply takes time. It's not instantaneous. It takes time for you to wear the garment and see how it feels and see if the fit is comfortable, or as you wear it longer, does it become less and less comfortable? Does it ride up or twist in ways that we don't expect? So it really takes time for us to use our eyes and to use our minds to figure out how to make this garment the best it can possibly be for you. In my process, I often plan for 1 to 2 fittings, whether clients are in town or long distance. And sometimes we even need a third fitting. It all depends on the design and it depends on the client. It depends on the fabric. It depends on the embellishment and everything. So really making a custom designed and custom made costume, it truly is an investment, not only in money, but also in time. Very often, I've been very thankful to receive compliments about the dresses that I've made and designed. And one of the compliments that I frequently hear is that the fit is really wonderful. And that's because we took a lot of time and patience to craft the fit, even on something very simple. It really does take time, but it's worth the outcome in the end. One of the more frustrating things for me is when other people aren't as committed to originality and uniqueness in their design, and a couple times things that I've made have been copied. It's kind of a double-edged sword because it's a big compliment when somebody makes a copy because it means that they loved my work. On the other hand, what's frustrating about it, besides that it's really not fair to me as a designer, it's not fair to the time and money investment of the dancer who wore the original design, nor is it really fair to the dancer who is copying the design, because you're creating a direct visual comparison between you and another person. But besides that, What has been frustrating is that in most cases, the attention to detail and the fit has been lacking. So even though it's been copied, it hasn't been executed as well because many times things you see that look simple to execute actually are not and have taken lots of time of fitting, of hand sewing, lots of patience in order to make it look flawless, simple, and easy. And in the case of the copycat, what was missing, not only the originality that would have made that design even better for the dancer they're creating for, but also the time and attention to detail of fitting. Ultimately, getting a costume custom designed and made, it truly is an investment in time and in money. But let me tell you, it's absolutely worth it in order to do something that's going to help you to look and feel your best. And that's what you deserve. You spend lots of time, money, and energy on your dancing. It would be a shame for your visual presentation to be less fabulous because we didn't go for a custom design. In another episode, I want to talk a little bit more about originality and what that means, because it can be a little scary to think about trying to be original, trying to create something that's visually unique and specific to yourself. It can be a little daunting, both for designers and for dancers. I also want to talk about styling in our dance costumes, because one thing I've noticed is many times people getting amazing costumes made for themselves, but the styling is a little bit lacking. And by styling, I mean hair, makeup, accessories, and more. These are equally important parts of the design and require no less attention to detail, especially for professional dancers and serious amateurs who really want to have a visually competitive look, whether they're performing a solo or showcase or they're competing. Let me know in the comments what other topics you might like to hear, and happy dancing and designing.